Hey, what's happening, y'all? It's your old pal, Mr. Butter, coming back at you again. Today, I am pumped to get into a New Balance collab that I just picked up. The day that this video goes live should be the day that they release on the New Balance website, but I can't wait to get into these with y'all. If you're into kicks and you feel like hanging out, then hit that subscribe button. Let's take a look at the Salehe New Balance 530s. Earlier this week, it occurred to me that I was currently waiting on 3 pairs of shoes to get here. All 3 pairs just happened to be New Balances, and all 3 pairs just happened to be collabs. This was the first one that got here. This is the Salehe New Balance 530. Never owned this silhouette before, but I've made the comment multiple times that I have really been feeling the bright colored retro runner style lately. So these definitely had my attention. If you're not familiar with Salehe, he's a very popular designer, but he uses nature and that kind of stuff to inspire a lot of his designs. Honestly, the first thing that really caught my attention of his was the Water Be the Guide. I think it was a 2002 R. And I believe they came out in 2020 or 2021, but that was 3 or 4 years ago. It was a really brightly colored New Balance 2002 R, and I just really like the design of those. He also made those shoes that had the whistle on the back of them. I think they called them the Yurt or something like that, but he always uses nature as his inspiration. The other 2 New Balance collaborations that I have coming right now are one of the Action Bronson pairs I have coming, and then I got a collaboration from N not long ago, and I think those are still sitting, but I think that's a 475. It kind of reminded me of the C Notes a little bit. Neither of those are here yet. Stay tuned for those reviews. I've really been loving New Balance collabs lately. Recently, we've seen them collab with Jack Harlow. Of course, as I already mentioned, we've seen the Action Bronsons, but the popularity of New Balance collabs just continues to climb and continues to climb. And I feel like since Yeezy left this vacuum and sort of this black hole in sneakers, I kind of feel like brands like New Balance, Saucony, Asics are all stepping up to the plate and really delivering some fresh new designs such as this one. But getting to this pair, I really like this box. Salehe is known for using nature to inspire his designs, and I read that he said this shoe was inspired on a trip that he made through a bamboo forest, and as you can see, it's got bamboo there on the lid, a little bit of New Balance branding, then the bamboo theme runs down the side. Raised up, you have some New Balance and Salehe branding. Then on the back of the box, it says "Prosperity be the prize." Look at the tag, says Salehe Bembury New Balance 530. The colors are yellow and green. Because I've never had this silhouette, I went true to size with my size 10. I think these retailed for $130 US. They're selling on the New Balance website for $130 US. Because I got these from the Be a Sponge website, I had to pay some extra shipping. I think all in, I was right around 150 bucks. So I don't think that's too bad for this pair. We continue to see that dual branding on the paper within the box, and you can see that that NB has that classic fingerprint design that we associate with Salehe. And then, as cool as that box might be, these things are so much better. I am absolutely loving this pair. I heard a lot of people say that they weren't feeling the shade of green that it was. A lot of people were complaining that it wasn't vibrant enough. I saw some people say that it was like pea yellow and that kind of thing. But whenever you have these in person, the base is more of like a lime green, but then the overlays are definitely more of like a greenish brown mix. It's almost like it's got a little bit of khaki in there. But in my opinion, I think this is one of those sneakers that will definitely grab attention but at the same time, it's not going to be hard to pull off. Like, it's not like screaming in your face. I don't mind really loud pops of color, but I think for somebody that is a little bit more reserved and might not want to be getting quite as much attention, you can wear this one. You'll be sure to be noticed, but at the same time, it doesn't look like your shoes are out of place or anything like that. I just think these different shades of green and the little pops of other colors that you see peeking out, along with the mix of materials and textures that we have on the shoe, I think these are beautiful. I think these are absolutely beautiful, and I'm very happy to bring these into the collection alongside pairs like my J-tip Sauconys, which we have right here. This one might be a little bit harder for people to pull off. These are the J-tip Sauconys, and while I love this bright, energetic design, I do think that a pair like this might be more difficult to pull off for people that don't really want the real loud colors, whereas the Salehe 530 is a little bit more toned down. Although these are really colorful and they really grab your attention, I don't think that they make quite as much noise as this pair. So I think this is kind of like a nice in-between shoe. Another pair that really immediately comes to mind as I'm thinking about colorful retro runner styles is this Action Bronson 1906. This one's probably even more toned down than the Salehe's, but I really just think that these are kind of like a sweet spot that is very wearable but energetic at the same time. But a little bit more about this design. So as I already said, Salehe was inspired by a recent trip through a bamboo forest, and I read that the little pops of color, like the little blue that you see peeking out there, as well as the little bit of green peeking out, he drew that inspiration from just catching glimpses of the sky through the bamboo, and then the deep green there that you see at the bottom was inspired by little glimpses of vegetation that he was able to see through the really thick bamboo. But I just think whenever you hear it explained and you hear his reasoning for using these little color accents and that sort of thing, it just all makes sense, because then you can really look at it and say, okay, I can see where he's coming from. So the green kind of represents all the bamboo around him, and then you've got that little hit of blue, the little hit of green, and that's like leaves and the sky, and that's even why he used that purple on the bottom as well, just to represent the colors that kind of peek through at him. Similar to other Y2K runner styles, this one does have a base mesh upper, and you get that classic Salehe influence with the fingerprint on that end. Starting with the outsole, you can see that the traction is primarily a nice deep purple color. We've got some bright pink New Balance branding there at the midfoot, and then we have those splashes of green on the sides. These colors also remind me of like late 80s, early 90s, like jet ski colors, or like something that you would see on Miami Vice or whatever. So again, that's another thing that I really love about these. But you can see that the foam kind of just peeks through that purple traction. As we come up to the midsole, you can see more of that celery green. It's kind of like a khaki and green mixed together, but that bright green wraps up, and you can see that nice purple color of the tread pattern as well. And I really like this midsole. It's not quite as busy as like 2002 R's and those kinds of shoes, but you can see it's kind of in that same family. But the midsole is mostly just foam, and it's all that greenish khaki color. You can see the purple traction kind of wrap up in the front, and you can see a little end there. As we get to the upper, that's where these shoes really shine. On the mudguard, we have this nice thick overlay of a shaggy suede, and that is just another shade of green. And it's not like crazy soft or anything, but it feels like a very natural material. But that's shaggy suede. Then we have like a nubuck type material in a different shade of green, and it's also got all these cool designs kind of pressed into that. Then underneath of that, we've got synthetic materials, and I hope it comes through on camera, but even that has a really cool texture to it. You can't see it every which way that you look at it, but it's almost got that kind of little fingerprint texture on that as well. So hopefully you can see that. but we've got more of that material back here where it says 530, and maybe you can see it on these pieces better. But really, every material that they used and every color, every texture, I just feel like was well thought out, and it all goes together beautifully. As I already noted, we have little glimpses of blue in a synthetic material. Then we've got a little bit of like a shiny silver material, and that's got a different texture on it. All these materials sit on top of a very breathable mesh. I love the color of this base material. Here on the back of the shoe, just beneath the 530 branding, we see some Salehe branding as well. That's kind of like that green colored tag, but it's got some pink Salehe branding on it. Then as we wrap around to the heel, we just see more overlays, and we've got this cool bright yellow little kind of like canvas material for the heel tab. I love it when designers have an element that you see and it's just unmistakable who designed it. And for Salehe, that is that fingerprint, but you can see it's kind of like a metallic material, but you can see that fingerprint texture on there, and that's kind of bordered by a grayish blue color. And again, the use of colors on these things are just absolutely beautiful to me. The base of the tongue is more of like a light blue or gray color, and it's the same breathable mesh that we see for the base of the upper. And then at the top of the tongue, it seems like that's a leather material, and it's got some New Balance branding with the fingerprint texture on it. And then it says Salehe just underneath of that. We've got some oval style rope laces, and that's just in a green that matches the rest of the upper. And they only came with one pair of laces. I do think on a pair like this, you would really benefit from having various shades of green, maybe some yellow to match the heel tab, maybe some blue. I just feel like you could play with the laces on this pair, and they would all look probably equally great and give you a different overall look. So I wish they would have included extra laces, but at that $130 retail price, I can't really complain about that. The other thing I would change is this came with a cork insole, and I don't mind the comfort of those, but a lot of times they start to squeak after you wear them for a while, but that's easily fixed. You could buy another insole and throw it in there. I'll just rock them the way that they are, but I know after time, if that insole starts squeaking, I'll have to get it out of there and put something different in. It looks like our sock liner is pretty much just like a lime green, and that matches this base layer of mesh that we have for the upper. That was a pretty quick look at these Salehe New Balance 530s. I'm pumped to have this silhouette in my collection. I have never owned it before. It definitely goes along with the style of the 1906, the 2002R, and I'm glad to add something into my collection that is a color that I don't have, as well as a silhouette that I don't have. But let me know what you all think about these. I am definitely a big fan of this pair, and I plan on getting them into the rotation heavily. I appreciate you all watching tremendously. Be sure to stay tuned because I have other New Balance collabs that are inbound coming here right now. I should be getting those soon, so watch out for those reviews to come. Let me know if you're feeling these down in the comments, and I will catch y'all on the next one. I'm out.